All right, so we'll begin part four. Remembering part three was calculating the range. And in part four, this is where we calculate the number of classes of our two histograms. So if we go back to the worksheet and I go up to the flow chart, all right, so, step two of the 5 steps to designing a histogram, this is where you calculate the range. And it's from here on out that we're going to end up with two histograms. We're designing two histograms. So we'll have one histogram that'll have a low number of classes, and then we'll have another histogram that'll have a higher number of classes. Okay, these two histograms stem from just one data set or one random variable. Okay, and the two formulas we're going to use are this OpenStax formula, where the number of classes is equal to the square root of n, and Sturge's formula, which is the number of classes is equal to 1 plus 3.32 log of n. So let's go back down to our worksheet here. So here I've got step 3, calculate the number of classes and the widths for the two histograms. So first, let's look at calculating the number of classes. So the OpenStax formula, let's see, I'm going to insert. Okay, so I'm going to insert an equation here. Put that to the left. All right, so this is, let's see here, K is equal to the square root of n. And Sturge's formula was K equals 1 plus 8.32 log of n. All right, so we can, of course, calculate this, by hand. This value of n is the sample size. It's the number of datums that we have in our random variable. And I recorded that earlier. So for me, that's 241. But we're going to use the spreadsheet to do these calculations instead of the calculator, all right, to teach you how to do that. So let's come back over to the Google Sheets spreadsheet. And let me go ahead and put the sample size, right? So for me, that was 241. And then here, I'm going to put OpenStax. Here, I'm going to have Sturge's. Oops. All right. And just, as a refresher, that Sturge's formula is the square root n. And I'm sorry, the OpenStax formula is the square root of n. And Sturge's, it's 1 plus 3.32 log of n. Okay, I need to make this a little bit bigger. And another way to widen these is that if you put the cursor on the line dividing the two columns and you double click, it'll automatically resize it. Okay, so the formula for the OpenStax method. So since we're going to be using a formula, I need to put equals, and I'll just start typing square root. So if you just hit SQ, all right, so here we've got the square root function. So this will give the positive square root of a positive number. So I'll click that. And for n, I could just type in 241, or I could click on this cell, which has my 241 value, right, parentheses that, and hit enter. So I get 15.5241747. And I wish it wouldn't auto-suggest, just forget about that. Now we need to enter in the formula for Sturgis. So again, since we're dealing with a formula, start with an equals, and we'll put 1 plus 3.32. Now we do have to insert a times, a multiplication, and then I'll start to type log. And you can see here, I have log, which is the logarithm of a number with respect to a base. Let's go ahead and click that. Yeah, log, and then I want to take the log of n, right parentheses. Oh, didn't like it. Okay, I don't think I used this log function correctly. So let me try that again. I think what I'm going to need, let me put equals 1 plus 3.32 times, I think I want this log 10. All right, I think that'll work. And then I'll click 241. There we go. All right. So now I've calculated the number of classes. So let me call that K1. And over here, call it K2. Make that a little bit bigger. So here I've got the number of classes is calculated by OpenStax, and the number of classes is calculated from Sturgis. So let's kind of go back to that flow chart really quick. And what do we do with that? So what we do is we take the lowest value of K and we round it down. And then we take the highest value of K and we round it up. All right. So that'll give us our K low and our K high. So let's go back to the spreadsheet. So right off the bat, we can see this is the lowest one between the two. And so we'd end up running that down to 8. And because this one is the higher one, we're going to round it up. And so we would end up rounding that up to 16. All right. But there's another way to do it. Show you again another spreadsheet function. So let's see here. We would have K low, K high. So spreadsheet functions or spreadsheets normally have a function called ceiling and floor. So floor will round any number down. So here it says rounds a number down to the nearest multiple of a factor. So let's hit floor. Let's see if this works. And we want to round this one down. And let's see if it takes that. There we go. And, so if you're in a room, the floor is below you and the ceiling is above you. So if we start typing in ceiling, then we can put this other number and we want to round that up no matter what. And that gives us 16. Okay. So this is one way of calculating the low number of classes and the high number of classes. So let's come back to this worksheet. And the low number of classes I just determined is 8, and the high number of classes I just determined is 16. So let me go ahead and color those in. And let me go to the My Open Math problem, because we are filling that in as we go. And that's what we're being tasked with. Part 4 is K low is the lowest number of histogram classes. K high is the highest number of histogram classes. So histogram 1 will be a histogram with, for me, 8 classes. Histogram 2 will be a histogram with 16 classes. So here, question 5 is, what was the lowest number of classes to try for K low? For me, that was 8. Histogram 2, what was the highest number of classes to try? That will be 16. And if I hit submit, if I've done it correctly, it will show it as correct, and it will let me on to the next part, which is part 5. Part 5 is we're going to calculate the width, and we could have some special rules. So let's wait and see. So that'll be the next video.